Welcome, everybody. Okay, it looks like we are now live, streaming live. Welcome, everybody, to this special City Council meeting. Today is August 19th, 2020, and we are assembled here today to have a discussion about how the city can participate or advocate or participate. Gosh, I don't know the exact language that was on our agenda and can't find it. Does anyone have the agenda pulled up that can read the exact language? Summer?
Oh, okay. I have it too, or Summer can read it. It's a discussion on the city's role in communication and enforcement of Grand County's mask mandate.
Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie. And thank you for reading that. And we'll just let you lead us off in this conversation then. How about that?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna let some others chime in as well, but I think we've all been getting an increasing number of comments. Well, they've been there since the start, but I think they're increasing from the public concerns about appreciation for the mask ordinance, but also concerns that maybe not as many people as should be following it, whether on the personal level or the business level. So people, you know, I think are always advised to contact the health department for more information, or if they have areas in town they're concerned about. But we've gotten a lot of requests from the beginning, and increasingly so, about what the city might be able to do more education and just be more increase awareness in a very visual way to people who might not know that we have the mask ordinance, or just to remind them. So, you know, from the start, we've had questions about whether we had electronic signs we could, as the city or work, collaborate with the county to put up near entrances to the community. And we know UDOT won't let us do that on the highway, but people have asked that we look into then alternate options. And also questions about whether we could hang some banners in key locations to remind people that we have a masking ordinance. And I think people that I've heard from are just increasingly concerned as we're watching visitation increase. I mean, they're happy about that part, but they are concerned that you know, that might continue to increase with people not being as aware as they should be about the ordinance. So I'll let others speak to that too, but those were kind of some of the things that have prompted this for me.
Tawny, do you want to go ahead and speak as well?
I'll just echo what Ronnie said. That's what I've gotten, is people, they appreciate that the order is in place, but they're frustrated, especially with businesses that aren't complying or are outwardly advocating for people not to wear masks. And at this point, all I can do is commiserate and say, you know, I just have opted not to go back to those businesses, but that's not good for the overall business community. I'd much rather be able to feel like I could spend my money safely at every business that I possibly can. I have a question, and I don't know, Joel, if you know, or Levi, maybe you know. Does UDOT say we can't put those electronic signs anywhere in their right of way along the highway, or is it just in the north end of town where there's already so much signage? Do we have any wiggle room with them?
Yeah, we've been working on that since Monday when we heard from you guys. I'm going to let Chuck answer that. He's been talking to UDOT over the last couple of days.
Yeah, so I spoke with UDOT, and we can utilize their right-of-way to install one of our, we have two variable message signboards, the big electronic boards, which you've seen. And because of the nature of this issue, they're willing to work with us. The requirements are, though, that we can't get very close on the north end of town, because there's already a lot of signage out there advising people of the construction. And we don't want to get so many boards so close together that it becomes either a distraction or becomes ineffective. So what we discussed with them is out by the 313 road. There's some places out there that was something along the lines of Grand County dash Moab, face mask required would be the message that we thought, and we're talking with UDOT, I think is simple enough to read and effective enough that people could grasp what we're trying to tell them. And then south of town, we haven't really identified an area, but it'd be the same thing. It'd be someplace this side of the San Juan County line, and we could put one to the south and one to the north. But their concern is getting too close in because of the highway construction signage we've got. But short of that, though, I talked to them this morning, and they're willing to let us do that if that's what council wants to do.
That was my concern on the north end of town, is there was already so much signage that it was just going to get lost in the jumble. But I think out by 313 is a good place to start.
Now, because it's the county property and not city, I did speak with Mary McGann this morning. She has been in conversation with Steve White about doing signage. So we can, if we decide we want to be a good partner with the county, we could make the offer, make an offer to follow up with signage, our signage on county property. That might be something that Mary and Steve would be in favor of. I just want to remind us that it's county, and that would be a step.
Yeah, because I think the SO has 2 of those signs. I don't know if they're currently using them for anything or not. And emergency management has a couple, but I think they might be using at least one of them. So, but those are the only 2 agencies in the county that I'm pretty sure have those signs.
Well, we're willing to help regardless, either way. We're willing to put the signs out as Chuck's described, or we're willing to just provide the signs to the county. If they want to put them out for their order, then we're willing to do that too. So however we can help.
Okay.
Karen, you are waving your hand. What's up?
I'm just curious. I mean, they're county roads. We're having this meeting at the city, like the lot for the county road department. There's 2 large electronic signs. I'm just like, seems like this
They're
is
not our signs though.
Oh, okay.
They're emergency management signs. They're just stored there.
Gotcha. Well, I'm just like, this seems like the discussion that should be happening at the county, since it's their mandate. Not that I don't want to be a good partner and have, banners or, whatever it is on our city streets. But I mean, we are talking using our electronic signs on county roads. So I'm just kind of curious why we're having this conversation and the county is not doing. They're getting the same letters.
That was
Good
what I was
question.
going.
Joel,
So
can
question,
you-
question if I may. So a city sign installed in a state right-of-way, a 191 right-of-way, even if it's outside the city boundaries, is it considered to be on county property as long as we're in the state right-of-way? I mean, you could consider it to be belonging to the state, and that way the city-county issue doesn't come into play. Is that correct?
I'm not too worried about whose property it's on, if it's in the right of way. And plus, when we're out there by 313, that could be BLM land. Like, I have no idea whose property is going to come right up against the road there. So not too concerned about that. We're happy to provide the signs. We're happy to put them out with the language Chuck has described. And we're also happy to let the county use 2 of our signs if they don't have them, if they want to do it. Like, we can fill whatever role is being asked of us to enforce the county order. It's just a matter of kind of how we want to go forward and what our role is in their order.
I think that, Karen, you make a really good point, and I just want to kind of follow up, Joel, what you just said. It's not our order, and yet we feel compelled to have this conversation to be a good partner and help with the signage. Right, Ronnie, Tani?
Has anybody spoken to any of the county council members, and are they getting the same letters? Are they getting the same message from their constituents? I haven't spoken to anyone.
I've had discussions with Mary McGann and a short exchange with Jalen Hawks, and I mean, I know they get a lot of the same ones that we do. And I know Mary had spent some time looking into signs that the county had access to. I guess, I mean, I would be happy to follow up and check in with, you know, Christina and Mary as the council chair, and, you know, see if they're okay with us putting it on county land. But I guess if we're bothering to meet now, I wouldn't mind discussing, if the county doesn't feel comfortable having our signage on county property, what plan B is and where we could put it where it's on city property, just so residents know we do plan to put up something somewhere, and it'll be where we put it will depend on the outcome of those discussions.
Chuck, I'm gonna let Chuck speak to that because these signs are gonna go out by 313 and out south of town. More than likely they're in the right of way, so they're on state property. So,
Okay.
like I said, you get out there to 313 and I think it's gonna be more on either state property or BLM property. So I don't think it's a concern whose property it's on at all. It's just a matter of, I don't necessarily, as the administration and staff, I don't want to overstep my bounds and start acting under a county ordinance if they have plans to do something or they're taking action. And if they want us to, I'm happy to, but you know, it's no different than if we passed a ordinance within the city and all of a sudden the county started taking action to enact our ordinance. It'd be like, well, wait a minute, you know, I don't want to overstep our bounds by taking a role that maybe is the county's role. If they're fine with it and they want us to help, I'm happy to. But at the same time, I don't want to overstep our role either.
And just before you answer that, Chuck, and talk to the UDOT, I do want to say that how grateful I am to the county for all their work in the, you know, the ordinance that we have, and how grateful I am to the health department, you know, for all of the work that they've done between the, you know, the mask mandate and then just all of the, you know, work that the health department has done. We are in a really good place. And so this is definitely not like, you know, asking them to do more. This is in a way extending a hand, like, how can we help? I just want to, that's the way I look at this conversation. Just what does it mean to be a good partner? And if, you know, if we can help in this way, you know, that's just a kind of a way of saying thank you, you know?
So Mayor, if I may suggest, this conversation really can be broken into three parts. One is signs on in the highway right of way. That's a low hanging fruit. It has nothing to do with the county, as we've established. If you'll entertain a motion, I'd like to move that we ask staff to make that happen with the two signs that Chuck has talked about a moment ago, appropriately placed at locations that he suggested, on the north side of town around 313, and an appropriate place on the south side of road, and get that much out of the way. That's the most important thing that we can do, in my opinion.
There's no action at today's meeting. There was no action noticed. However, I think what staff was hoping for at the conclusion of the meeting was direction, but there's no need for a motion or any action.
Well, Mayor, would you ask for a straw poll to see if anybody else has any support to what I just suggested, whether you consider it to be a formal motion or not?
I'd be happy to take that straw poll. Who supports Councilmember Duncan's direction towards city? Awesome.
I do, and that's assuming that, I mean, staff, or if the staff needs help from us, that's fine, that we would consult the county and the health department to let them know that that's, you know, what we're thinking of doing to try and do our part to help educate and do outreach. And, you know, lest they have anything they want us to know or strong feelings about wording or.
So what I just heard from a county council member is that they were told that the governor will not allow signs on a UDOT road. But Chuck, are you saying that that is potentially not correct information?
Well, I did not talk to the governor, but so I don't know about that part of it. But I spoke with the district traffic engineer, and because of the nature of this, and because of the nature of the message, we're not advertising. We're simply trying to improve safety. They said that for the duration of this pandemic, they were amenable to this. They would let us.
I want to be clear. for myself as the city and for the county, when this all started, we approached UDOT and we discussed putting signs out and we were told no. And so I don't want to sit here and act like this isn't because us or the county hasn't made an attempt to do this in the past. We historically have tried to do this and have been told we weren't allowed to do this. This was their road, yada, yada, yada. So the fact that Chuck has gotten permission in the last 2 days has been a lot of hard work and legwork and asking and rehashing through. Chuck's approval with UDOT right now to put these signs out is limited to the exact language that he got approved for them to do. If we want to change the message on those boards, we have to go back to UDOT and start all over to see if they'll approve it again. But I don't want to, I just want to be clear, like, this isn't inaction on the county's part. This isn't inaction on our part. We historically have been told, no, we're not permitted to do this. This is them acquiescing and giving us permission in the last 2 days that we can do this.
Chuck, can you repeat the language just so that it won't, no surprises? Thanks.
Sure. Grand County - Moab, face masks required.
But I do like Joel's thought process in that, first of all, this is kind of a fluid situation. It's not the same as it was in March or April. We have asked again, and as long as the county is amenable to basically having our signs out in the county, whether it's on county property, BLM property, or state property. And kind of to loop back to Emily's point that we're offering this to be a good partner and to get the word out. And I think Mike's right. This conversation can get broken down into several parts, and those big signs are just the first part.
And so are there any other ways that council, ideas that council has about communicating the message as a good partner for the county and the health department? How we can help?
I guess I had a few questions. I don't know, in terms of location south of town, have you guys thought about either near the turnoff to Ken's Lake or near Osta? Those are just some ideas, but those are pretty heavily trafficked. Actually, the turnoff to Ken's Lake would be over the county line, but Osta.
Yeah, the agreement I have with UDOT is it would be in Grand County. And
yeah, that makes sense.
I ran out this morning and located the spot off of 313, and I just didn't have time to go to the south of town. But
the south town, basically the county line's right after Stock Stripe. So it'd be right in there somewhere.
Yeah. Seems like, that's a possibility, or closer to Spanish Trail. Yeah.
Well, if I may, Mayor, I just offer very quickly my opinion on this subject. The remaining two issues are businesses and patrons of those businesses here in town tend to be people that live here who, for whatever the reasons, don't particularly are interested in enforcing a mask mandate. And while we can try to encourage them to do so, you could even, threaten them with fines and legal action and so forth. I'm personally of the opinion that not much is going to change because this is what they believe, and they're going to fight it tooth and nail just because that's what they believe. So I'm very much in favor of doing the signs on the highway, and I do think that will help. But as for the rest of it, I'm dubious, frankly, that any kinds of signs anywhere, which are mostly targeted towards locals and local owners, is going to be very effective. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Mike, for sharing that. I would like to state too that as we are having lots of conversations about back to school and just conversations, within our community about staying safe, to stay open. I am so encouraged by the number of cases that we have, and I am so encouraged by the number of masks that I see being worn downtown. And I just feel like we're in a very safe and good and comfortable space. So this is certainly bonus, but I do think that we are doing a great job as a community.
One of the things that might help is maybe at our next meeting, we could get someone from the health department to speak directly to this, because some of the email we get is very specifically about concerns that people at risk have about aerosols, and just some confusion about the masking. Like in some businesses, they're being told, oh, well, people are working at least 6 feet apart, and just some concerns about aerosols. And it might just help if we ask the health department to do more education about aerosols and where they're allowing, it's non-masking outdoors where you have 6 feet of separation is one thing. I think some people are just worried about going into some businesses where they wonder about aerosols, that danger. So a little bit more information from the health department might help too. I guess just in terms of signage or banners, I'm just curious what other people think. I don't know if Chuck, UDOT considered the 128 corridor too close to what's going on, but that of course is our other, feeder into town. And I don't know if it's possible to put anything out there, whether it was a banner or a sign, and then I didn't know if some people like banners, some people don't. We have some local businesses who make them, but in some communities around the country, you do see narrower ones across Main Street or across a side street announcing, say, different events in town or something. So I didn't know in the run up to our business season if anybody would support the idea of at least, 2 of those either across Main Street or across, you could put them across busy side streets, whether that was 100 South or Center or 100 North. So
Let's
I would
put it-
Levi speak. Yeah.
Yeah, let's have Levi speak to this.
Hey, Ronnie, regarding your suggestion about banners across the highway, you don't want to allow them across the right of way at all. They pose as potential liability for oversized loads running through town. So that they don't allow it anymore.
And would it be allowed, say, if we put one on a side street, like a busy spot, like I'm just going to choose something random. I'm not saying we should do this one per se, but on the east side of 100 North, like, I don't know, maybe it would be, I don't even know if we're allowed to use light poles, but if it went, somewhere by the post office in the co-op or something.
Yeah, and a city right of way is a different story, but you don't want to allow the UDOT right of way at all.
That's not to say that if you wanted to put a banner on 2 T-posts along the side of the road out on 128, we couldn't do that, but nothing across the road.
Okay. So I guess I'm just curious, just to take advantage of the fact that we have time for this discussion, if anybody would be in favor of something on 128 that was allowed, or something on it, if you guys thought it was necessary downtown on, 1 or 2 key city side streets, just for added.
I'm wondering more about if we utilize our light poles, like where we put the Christmas decorations, if we could have, I don't know how much they cost. Maybe it's cost prohibitive. I don't know. But maybe if we had some little flags made up, I don't know how many, 10, 15, but maybe if we utilized our light poles versus going across the street.
So it seems now would be a time to do that because there is funding, COVID funding for education. So it doesn't seem like it would be, I mean, maybe we'd have to do the original, the output at first, but it seems like a very reimbursable item. And like the mayor and I talked about that, just like and Joel, like those banners like we did for the seniors. Yeah. And I mean, something, but I really feel like it should be a symbol and very little wording. I mean, maybe it's just a mask and it says mask up. I mean,
yeah.
It's going to say put a mask on
it. Like put a bird on it.
Yeah. I like the staff suggestion I got. I won't put any names out there. I like mask it or casket.
Should we, I think, Karen, you're totally right. It's a reimbursable. I bet it would be a reimbursable. And what it would look like is, pretty important. So like the image of a face mask and
There's a little emoji with a mask on it, just a little smiley face emoji with the mask that looks
We're gonna-
friendly.
We're gonna require a picture of the mayor with the mask and we're gonna use that.
Oh, I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think that's an awful idea. I like the emoji much better than that idea. Otherwise, we're not putting banners up at all. So there's stay safe to stay open is something else that we could consider on the banners.
We'll work them up. We'll do a couple, that just say put a mask on, or ones that say stay safe, stay open, support business. I don't know. We'll work up. If we're gonna order some, we can order a couple different varieties so every poll is not the exact same, like just like we do for Christmas and stuff like that. So
I've got another one. Don't kill grandma. Just
we
saying.
we have staff who can we can figure those out. So if you want us to do some of that, we will have to pay for them up front, but we would be eligible for reimbursement for that probably, and we can go from there.
And I just want to say again, we do have local businesses who, make or order banners. So I'd hope it was something we could just, have done locally.
We do order those locally.
And let's run the image by the county, someone at the county, just to.
Well, these are banners that are in city limits that are going on our polls. So do we want to run those by the county?
Let's just get their thumbs up.
Okay.
Do you
But
want
it's
to run
very
it by the health department too then, or?
No, I think they'll be grateful that we're doing it, and let's just, make sure that, there's no, that it's a helpful message for the order. That's all.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So we've got electronic signs north and south, and our flags. I mean, the sadness is that we don't have events that we're advertising with our, flags right now. So this is kind of unfortunately our event. So I think using the poles along Main Street, that's a good idea. It's reimbursable. I feel confident that we'll be wearing masks for a while because I do want to stay safe to stay open. And with school going back in session, I want us all to continue to follow CDC guidelines. So it's not like, we're gonna be out of this new normal anytime soon. I don't think. Does anyone think that we would be out of this new normal anytime soon? No. So these two solutions sound really good in partnership with the county, recognizing that it's the county's order and that we just want to say thank you to them and be good partners and do what we can to, manage as one valley. Ronnie?
I just have one more thing. I don't know if it would take too long, Joel, but I've seen a lot of communities use, and it might just be a nice thing for our youth right now, simple kids art for signage like that. So it might be worth asking someone like, our community art coach, Bruce Hucko, if it's something that local kids might want to generate something simple for. But again, I don't know how complicated that would be, but it would just be a nice, thing to offer if they were interested.
I think art coach and all the rest of our teachers are really busy right now, just getting ready for back to school and what that looks like. And especially because, teachers are looking at providing, online learning and in-class learning. If you're a certificate buyer, consider buying certificates for your teachers and supporting our teachers for sure. Because this is going to be a very stressful few weeks here.
Yeah.
The charter school starts tomorrow and HMK starts September 8th. 6th? 8th. What is it? 8th. Thank you.
Day after Labor Day.
So, yeah.
Lori reached out to us and asked if there was anything legal that she needed to research. And I didn't think that there was. I asked if we had to get any special permissions to put them on other property, but I think Joel and Chuck have answered that. I'm just wondering for the public's, for what we communicate and what we tell the public, do we have a legal obligation to somehow enforce this? Or is our obligation more an ethical obligation to be a good partner with the county and the health department? Because I think some of the letters and some of the communication we've got have been frustrated. It doesn't appear that we've done anything other, to encourage this. So I'm just wondering if we have a legal obligation or if it's more like a ethical or a community responsibility.
So Tawny and I did my best to answer your question in the email response I sent back.
I didn't see it.
Okay. The answer really is, if you go look at the order itself, the public health order, there is no enforcement language in the order. So, when you have a mandate to do something and it doesn't specify the consequences of failing to do that. So I think, if it is, it's county, it's a joint order between the county and the health department. And so obviously that's in their jurisdiction to enforce it. They, in my answer to you, I said, because the order itself doesn't specify the enforcement mechanism, what we'd have to do is we'd have to look at the Emergency Management Act to see what authority the county would have or the health department would have to enforce that, because it's not specified itself in the order. And, again, what we've sort of said about this is that we are happy to coordinate and help with them. And there have been occasions when the county has requested our assistance in enforcing. So I talked to the chief just briefly. He has not received any requests for assistance of enforcement, and right now there isn't. The health department is the entity people go to if they see a problem. And at this point, having us enforce the order, as you were saying, is probably not. It's their order, and so as Joel said earlier, if we passed an order and the county started doing something in response to it,
yeah,
we would want to be in a partnership with that. And at this point, what I'm saying is the county and the health department haven't asked for that.
And I think it needs said too that I was just at a meeting from 11 to 12 on Main Street. Had my mask on. There was a lot of people out. Not a lot like normal years, but there was people coming and going, and I only saw 2 people the entire time without masks on. I think the majority of people by far are wearing masks. And when this started, we had businesses we couldn't give boxes of masks fast enough to because they were flying out the door. And now if we give a business a box of masks, one box will last them 2 weeks to 3 weeks to a month, because everyone who's coming in for the most part has a mask. And I think, the community, want to thank them for wearing their masks, and the majority of people are, and the majority of tourists who are coming to town are wearing masks. So the majority of people are handling themselves accordingly. It's, we're trying to deal with this point, the group that's not going to be told what to do. So
I guess it will be interesting over time to just hear from more businesses. I know of one that I frequent that several of you have probably gone to, where they were telling me, it's been frustrating for them because since the whole thing started, they have had to call the police 3 times because of arguments that broke out inside their business about masks. So they may be the exception, but we should just be aware of things like that.
I don't know that they are the exception. I think that's what we're talking about, is that segment of society that's not going to put a mask on that you have to call the cops on. I think everyone else at this point is going to wear a mask, and they are wearing their mask. So I don't know how we eliminate that segment of society that no matter what we do is not going to put it on. And when they go into the store, they're going to have to call the cops on them. I don't know that we can eliminate that aspect of this.
Right. And actually, Ronnie, you brought up a good point. And that's how the city would be supportive, is if there is a situation where it's not the issue of the wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, but you have a patron or somebody else creating a disorderly situation, or having been asked to leave the premises is now they are trespassing. So in that case, then it becomes something that, the local police can respond to. And, the enforcement mechanism for the mask order is through the health department. And so the distinction there is the mask versus the subsequent behavior. But the enforcement is in chapter 26A, which is the purview of the health department.
Hey, I'm super grateful to staff for going through this conversation today. This does make me think about not a business, but our schools. Karen, will you, when is your next board meeting? School district?
My next Wednesday.
So next Wednesday, and I'll reach out to Charter. Let's just make sure that we're good partners with them too. And let's make sure that we stay in touch with our schools about masks, because as we go into the year and as we get a month into it, just making sure that the schools, have masks available for kids, and if they start to see a need, that we can help them there.
Yeah, I did. Emily and Joel, I really want to say thank you, because you guys both, pointed out all the things we are doing right. Mm-hmm. And we have 0 cases right now, and I feel like we are responding. We do have one right now.
We have one. Yeah, I looked just before I left work. There's one.
Oh, because I just got on and I showed it's okay.
Oh, even one.
Yeah, even one. You guys, and so we're dealing we're getting complaints, but there's a lot that's going right, and it's difficult to just sit back and keep taking this, and we are underachieving, and because all the emails we got with the outbreak that was going to happen when we opened up again, it didn't happen, but yet everyone keeps expecting the worst. And I am hoping that doesn't happen, but there's a lot of businesses that are doing what they can. And there's a lot of people who are taking this very seriously. And I applaud them and am grateful, because I haven't gotten COVID yet. And I haven't been, inside my house this whole time under, quarantine. So, there's a lot of things that are going right. And if we put the signs out that allows everyone to know that the city and the county, we do have a mask requirement. I think, and then in terms of businesses, if they don't want to do it, Tani, I know it's not a great idea to say, well, you want to make sure everybody uses all the businesses, but there's going to be certain people and certain businesses that no matter what you do, the only way you really prove anything is with your pocketbook, unfortunately. And so, maybe at a point when the handful that we have gotten, the 4 businesses that supposedly are not using masks, when their revenues are down, it's okay, our community is serious about masks. So they have the option to make that happen or not. But I just, I just like to point out that we are doing things right.
We are doing a lot of things right. And I think we took it seriously in the beginning. And so we didn't have any real outbreaks or any spikes. It was, and people have done pretty well. I think this discussion was important, just to let people know that we are taking it seriously, and we are considering it, and we will do what we can to be partners with the county and with the health department and the school and the businesses. So
it's the old saying, you vote with your feet.
What?
Vote with your feet. So
yeah, no, it's true.
Some business is doing something you don't agree with, vote with your feet.
So are there any other ideas or any other comments that anyone would like to make before we adjourn? Ronnie?
I was just going to make one, and thank you all for having this discussion. I realize we're not the body in the exact driver's seat on the enforcement end, and that there wasn't distinct stuff put in place. But I think we all feel like the messaging we keep getting as elected officials is it is our obligation as leaders. morally and in terms of the health of our community to try and make sure that we are setting a good example and following the ordinance as much as possible. Like, I don't think Utah's numbers would be looking as good as they were if some key communities like Salt Lake County and city hadn't set those examples with mask ordinances. I mean, unfortunately, we aren't going to know, but I do feel like part of our problem that we should recognize as leaders is, you know, at the state level, they set mandatory masking, say in state offices, but not in other places. And the message that that sends is, we care about the customer and our employers in the state offices, but the rest of you do what you're going to do. And I do think in the current climate of the US, and certainly our obligation as leaders to think about those who have to serve as frontline workers and those who are more apt to get COVID for various socioeconomic reasons, that we do owe it to try and, you know, get as many of our residents and visitors to mask up as possible. I mean, it's what our scientists and doctors locally are telling us. And I just feel like it's so unfair for us not to speak out for the people who have to go to work every day, who may not be in a financial or cultural position to get in people's faces about masks. And I just feel really strongly like we need to take every opportunity we can to make sure everybody's masking up. And I understand there are legal limits, but I do feel like, you know, we do need to speak to that, those of us who are elected.
Thank you, Ronnie. Okay, now, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, reminder that tomorrow night we have our Market on Center from 5 to 8. And we do have masks, free masks available for people. So, I think we might even have vendors that are selling masks as well. You know, lead by example. I hope I see many of you at the Market on Center tomorrow night. And certainly members of the community. There's a lot of really good produce that's popping out of gardens around town. So unless there's anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Karen.
A second.
Thank you, Tani. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you so much, council, and thank you big time to staff for
Thank you
taking
guys
time
for
out of
having this
your day.
discussion.
Yeah.